Lake Michigan was really key for sure as a kid, and I blissed out. I mean, I remember just taking off into the water and I'd just be happy for hours with an inner tube just flipping over in the waves. I mean, it was my favorite times of my youth, hands down, swimming in Lake Michigan.
It's my sense that when we pay attention and just take notice and be quiet and listen, we kind of inherently know, almost instinctually know, how to be around water.
I spent a lot of time diving in the lakes. I do diving some shipwrecks and then also sailing on the lakes as well.
Water spots have always been for me places of community. I've always gone to them in order to either calm down, relax, rest, to be re-energized. I mean, water for me has always been this, like I said, a conduit of energy.
I certainly think water, and the Great Lakes in particular, do that to a huge extent. I mean, it's part of what makes us Michiganders.
A lot of the lakes and stuff relate to family, you know, it's always family times when you're going out there. It's always, you know, recreational, you know, so you always have good times, a lot of fun.
Used to visit my uncle who lived near Sand Creek. We would go down there for two reasons. One was we would go swimming. In the spring, we'd always have bloodsuckers on us, and I would scream until my brothers took them off me because I didn't like to look at them or feel them.
I lived close to Lake Michigan. It was beautiful. It's fresh water. It's like an ocean. You can go watch the sunset. It's just like an ocean. It's beautiful. So that's my childhood.
I grew up in Central Illinois, but my family vacationed a lot up in Michigan, and so we spent a lot of our summers on the lake, and that's, you know, how I learned all my water sports, from canoeing to kayaking, boating, tubing, you know, you name it, we did it. So I've always had a great fondness for the Great Lakes and water sports in general.
Having that direct contact in it, with it, on it, you notice. I mean, you see that it's a living, it's alive, it's full of life.
Can't imagine living in like an arid region or somewhere that wasn't as fortunate to have the water resources that Michigan has, and I'm glad to see that, you know, they're actually taking steps to protect those resources.
If you don't know the importance of say for instance the conservation of water, then you're more likely to waste it, misuse it, even pollute it, you know. I think, you know, particularly in the inner city, if children are aware that there are large bodies of water that they live near or have the opportunities to go see, they then can say, okay, oh wow, look how clean this water is, and may have an impetus to keep it that way.
I taught my kids to recycle. And we were standing on the shores of Lake Huron, and I said, look, this is ours. You help make this possible. Because all the cans and bottles that you made sure went into the recycling bin and going with Mom to the recycling center. This is your lake that you made possible.
I keep the flood gauge for the National Weather Service, NOAA, and I call in flood levels. I am one of two manual gauges, as somebody has to read them, on the Grand River here. So my data helps them figure out where the crests are and whatnot.
One of the things that I realized when I really cared about water was after a sailing lesson had come in, there was a boat full of Frisbees, and this advertising company decided that it'd be good to stick their name on a whole bunch of Frisbees and then dump thousands of them into the lake. And that's what really got me really angry and aggravated, and I made some phone calls, and I wanted to let people know that that's not right. This is something that you should cherish and respect, and that is not something to abuse. So I'm just really fortunate to grow up in an area with such a beautiful natural resource that we depend on every day.
I just think it has a very powerful way of making you feel connected. And I don't know how that works, but I think once you have that sense, that's when you become more aware of what are the ramifications of not protecting it. And I think that really builds a spirit in people that's very powerful.
Find ways to use water wisely and respect it and honor it for its place and for its use, and not overuse it, not abuse water as though it's, you know, going to be here forever.
We want some other folks who aren't engaged or are underinformed to really have the opportunity to learn something and get connected with a particular campaign, hopefully.
We're finally making a difference. I belong to the Sierra Club, the Land Conservancy, the Nature Conservancy, West Michigan Environmental Action, and I think we're finally getting people to recognize that green living is good living and that water comes first. And I think government and legislature has to do a lot more to ensure that our waters are protected.
All natural resources, again, aren't to be taken for granted. And I know a lot of people have come up to us and they just don't really get why it matters to conserve water. The Great Lakes are huge, but I mean, it's a huge body of fresh water, but I mean, you know, there's so many people outside of the Great Lakes Basin that want to use that water, and that water that they use would not be able to go back in. So, you know, every little thing that any person can do really adds up. So I think it's really important for everybody to be educated about where their water comes from and where it goes.
I think it's about raising consciousness, raising awareness, and part of it could be through education. You know, the Water Festival, I think, is doing a great job of bringing a lot of different speakers who are talking about different aspects of water preservation, water care, water usage.
Well, I teach at Ferris State University, and I went to one of the meetings when local citizens were challenging the Nestle Ice Mountain plant, and I was amazed at how many people were concerned about this and the emotion and the passion.
So I think it's important that number one, children get the experience of water in nature, no matter what continuum they live in, so that they know how important it is to us as human beings on this planet.
My lifeline, I guess, that which sustains everything. Between the sun, which we're relatively open to, and earth and water, these three entities, without them, life ceases to really exist.
I think that around the basin, people as a general appreciate the Great Lakes, but really it should be internationally cherished. I mean, the Great Lakes hold 20% of all the world's fresh water. That's an enormous amount, and 40 million people depend on it every single day. So if we start taking water out like that or distributing it to other parts of the country, we could easily see something catastrophic happen to the lakes.